From these, it may be seen how one can be said to be well fortunate. For it is said that good things happen to a man according to fortune, when some good thing happens to him apart from his intention. As when a man, digging in the field, finds a treasure for which he was not looking. It happens, however, that someone who is working works against his own intention, but not against the intention of a superior to whom he is subordinate, but not apart from the intention of the sender, and therefore, although in comparison with this servant it is accidental and casual, but not in comparison with the master, but it is something ordered. Since then, man is ordered according to his body under the heavenly bodies, according to the understanding indeed under the angels, but according to the will under God. Something can happen apart from man's intention, which is nevertheless according to the order of the heavenly bodies, or the arrangement of the angels, or even of God. Although God alone works directly for man's choice, yet the action of the angel works something for man's choice by way of persuasion, but the action of the heavenly body by way of disposing, inasmuch as the bodily impressions of the heavenly bodies dispose our bodies to certain choices. When, therefore, a man, under the influence of higher causes, according to the aforesaid manner, inclines to certain choices useful to himself, the usefulness of which, however, he does not know by his own reason, and with this, from the light of intellectual substances, his intellect is enlightened to do the same. And from a divine operation, his will is inclined to choose something useful to himself, the reason of which he does not know. He is said to be well fortunate, and on the other hand, ill fortunate, when from previous causes his choice is inclined to the contrary, as it is said of a certain Jeremiah 22:30. Right that barren man, who will not prosper in his days. But in this there is a difference to be observed. For the impressions of the heavenly bodies upon our bodies cause in us the natural dispositions of the bodies, and therefore, from the disposition left from the heavenly body in our body, one is said not only to be well-fortunated or ill-fated, but also well-natured or ill-natured, according to the manner in which the philosopher says in his great morals that it is well-fortunated to be well-natured. For it cannot be understood that this proceeds from the different nature of the intellect, that one person chooses what is useful to himself, and another what is harmful apart from his own reason, since the nature of intellect and will is the same in all men. For formal diversity would introduce diversity according to species, but material diversity leads to numerical diversity. Hence, according as man's intellect is enlightened to do something, or the will is instigated by God, again there is another difference to be noted about this. For the operation of the angel and of the heavenly body is only as disposing for election, but the operation of God is as completing. But when the disposition which is from the quality of the body, or the persuasion of the intellect, does not induce the necessity to choose, man does not always choose that which the guardian angel intends, nor that to which the heavenly body inclines. However, this person always chooses according to what God works in his will. Hence the guardianship of the angels is sometimes cancelled, according to Jeremiah 51:9. We took care of Babylon, and she was not taken care of. And much more the inclination of the heavenly bodies. But divine providence is always firm. There is also another difference to consider. For since the heavenly body does not dispose to choice except insofar as it impresses upon our bodies, from which man is incited to choose by the manner in which the passions lead to choice. Every disposition to election which is from the heavenly bodies is by way of some passion, as when one is led to choose something by hatred or love, or anger, or something of the sort. But by the angel one is disposed to choose by means of intelligible consideration, without passion. This happens in two ways. For sometimes the intellect of man is enlightened by an angel to know only that something is good to be done, but he is not instructed as to the reason for which there is good, which is taken from the end. And therefore sometimes a man esteems that something is good to be done, but if he were asked why, he answered that he did not know. Hence, when he arrives at a good end which he did not foresee, it will be fortuitous for him. And sometimes, through the illumination of the angel, he is instructed both that this is good, and of the reason why it is good, which depends on the end. And so, when he reaches the end he has foreseen, it will not be accidental. It must also be known that the active force of the spiritual nature, as it is higher than the corporeal, is also more universal. Hence, the disposition of the heavenly body does not extend to all things to which human choice extends. It must also be known that the active force of the spiritual nature, as it is higher than the corporeal, is also more universal. Hence, the disposition of the heavenly body does not extend to all things to which human choice extends. It must also be known that the active force of the spiritual nature, as it is higher than the corporeal, is also more universal. Hence, the disposition of the heavenly body does not extend to all things to which human choice extends. Again, the power of the human soul, or even of an angel, is particular in comparison with the divine power, which is indeed universal with respect to all beings. Thus, therefore, some good can happen to a person even apart from his own intention, and besides the inclination of the heavenly bodies, and besides the illumination of the angels, but not apart from the divine providence, which is governing as well as effective for a being insofar as it is a being, whence it must contain all things under itself. Thus, therefore, some accidental good or evil may happen to a man, and by reference to him, and by comparison with the heavenly bodies, and by reference to angels, but not by reference to God. For by reference to him, not only in human affairs, but also in any other matter, there can be nothing casual and unexpected. But because those things are fortuitous which are apart from intention, but good morals cannot be apart from intention, since they consist in choice. With regard to them, no one can be said to be well or ill-fortunate, although with regard to them a person may be said to be born good or bad, when from the natural disposition of the body he is fitted for the choices of virtues or vices. But with respect to external goods, which may happen to a man apart from his intention, a man may be said to be well born and well fortunate, and guided by God, and guarded by angels. But a man obtains from previous causes also another aid, as far as the results of his actions are concerned. For when a man has both to choose and to pursue what he chooses, in both he is sometimes helped or even hindered by previous causes. Indeed, according to election, as has been said, inasmuch as man is disposed to choose something through the heavenly bodies, or as it were, enlightened by the guardianship of angels, or even inclined by a divine operation. According to execution, however, inasmuch as man derives from some superior cause the strength and efficiency to fulfill what he has chosen. This can be not only from God and the angels, but also from the heavenly bodies, inasmuch as such efficacy is located in the body. For it is evident that even inanimate bodies derive certain powers and efficacies from heavenly bodies. even apart from those which result from the active and passive qualities of the elements, which there is no doubt also subject to the celestial bodies. Just as iron attracts magnets from the power of the celestial body, and certain stones and herbs have other hidden virtues. Hence there is nothing to prevent a man from having, through the influence of the celestial body, some efficiency in doing some bodily things which another does not have. For example, a physician in healing, and a farmer in planting, and a soldier in fighting. But this efficacy is much more perfectly bestowed by God on men, in order to carry out their works effectively. Therefore, as to the first aid, which is in choosing, God is said to direct man. But as for the second aid, it is said to strengthen a man. And these two aids are mentioned together in the Psalm, where it is said, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" As for the first, "Lord, protector of my life, from whom shall I be afraid?" As for the second, but there is a twofold difference between these two aids. The first indeed, because by first aid a man is helped both in those things which are subject to man's power, and also in other things. But second aid extends only to those things to which the power of man is valid. For the fact that a man digging a grave finds a treasure proceeds from no man's power. Whence, with regard to such a result, a man can be helped in this, that he is urged to seek where the treasure is, but not in the fact that any power is given to him to find the treasure. But in this, that a physician heals, or a soldier wins in battle. He can be helped both in that he chooses the suitability of the end, and in this that he executes it effectively through virtue acquired from a superior cause. Hence, first aid is more universal. The second difference is that the second aid is given to pursue effectively what he intends. Hence, it befalls a man for good or ill according to fortune, sometimes by acting alone, as when he digs in the ground and finds a resting treasure. But in the first event, a man is helped to the fact that something good happens to him, according only to the fact that he is guided in choosing that to which is connected by accident, some advantage which results apart from intention. In the second event, however, each agent must be directed to choose an action or movement from which to meet him. It is also necessary to consider something else about what has been said, for it has been said that something good or bad happens to a man according to fortune, and it can be from God and from the heavenly body, inasmuch as man is inclined by God to choose something to which there is attached some advantage or disadvantage which the choosing does not consider beforehand, and insofar as the heavenly body is disposed to choose such a thing. Now this advantage or disadvantage in relation to man's choice is fortuitous. Related to God, he loses reason for chance, but not related to the celestial body. This is clear, for no event loses the character of chance unless it is reduced to a cause in itself. Now the power of the celestial body is the active cause, not by way of intellect and choice, but by way of nature. But it is the property of nature to tend to one thing. Therefore, if any effect is not one, it cannot be by itself the cause of any natural power. But when two things are joined by accident, they are not really one, but only by accident. Hence no natural cause of this union can be a cause in itself. Let it be therefore that this man is moved by the impression of the heavenly body by way of passion, as has been said, to dig the grave. Now the sepulchre and the place of the treasure are not one except by accident, because they have no order to each other. Hence the power of the celestial body cannot by itself incline to this whole, that it should dig the grave and the place where the treasure is. But someone acting through the intellect can be the cause of the inclination in all this, because the intelligent is able to organize many things into one. It is also evident that even a man who knew that the treasure was there, he might send another ignorant person to dig the grave in the same place, so that, contrary to his intention, he might find a treasure. Thus, therefore, such fortuitous events, when reduced to a divine cause, lose the aspect of fortuitousness. But when reduced to a celestial cause, not at all. By the same reasoning, it also appears that a man cannot be universally well fortunate from the power of the celestial body, but only as regards this or that. But I say universally that a man has in his nature, from the impression of the celestial body, that he chooses always, or in many cases, some things to which some advantages or disadvantages are accidentally connected. For nature is not directed but to one thing. Now, according to what happens to a man, good or bad, according to fortune, they are not reducible to one thing, but are indeterminate and infinite, as the philosopher teaches in 2 Physics, and it is clear to the sense. It is not possible, then, that it is in one's nature to always choose those things to which certain advantages follow even by accident, but it may be that, from a heavenly inclination, he is inclined to choose something to which some advantage is connected by accident, and from another inclination something else, and from the third, but not so that from one inclination to all things. But from one divine disposition, man can be directed to all things.